right, we're going to go into eastern Colorado again. I want to first off thank the crew that is there, that works so diligently in pursuing an understanding of writings, so forth, in the southeastern Colorado and surrounding areas. How fortunate we are to have the help and to be a part of this group that continues seeking, marking, exploring, and how precious it is to have people that are interested in this old earth as she was and the signs that were left here by predecessors. And it's always such a pleasure, and I just want to thank them. Now today we're going to go out into the field. We're going to take a different approach to looking at old inscriptions on rocks in the western United States. We will view some ongoing research that has not yet reached definite solutions or conclusions, and we'll go along with explorers in the field to help find new material for evaluation. This is always exciting. The inscriptions occur in southeast Colorado, where the Ogham writings we have shown before are, but these new petroglyphs are very different in form. They are simple geometric signs as shown here. You'll see them in these slides. Isn't that something? And are pecked rather than abraded into the rock surface. The glyphs in many of the examples we will show have been enhanced with the inert material that easily washes away. It is recommended that a novice should never attempt this because you can destroy, as I'll tell you in a moment. For example, the inscriptions are very old, as their appearance shows from a dark brown and black rock varnish that has covered the markings after many years of exposure to the elements. Dating by new methods that depend on radiocarbon techniques show the petroglyphs to be about 2,000 years old. Think about that. Here, a sample is being taken for analysis in the laboratory. In other words, this is organic matter that covers the stone over a period of time, and naturally that organic matter can be carbon dated. About 30 individual signs occur that are repeated from site to site. Now, the simple geometric non-representational nature of the signs, sometimes they are arranged in rows that have the appearance of writings, as you see here. And we call these pure panels, for they contain only the signs, and it is this type we are most interested in for possible decipherment. We're going to show you a new one here. It is apparent that they are not representational and include no drawings of animals or people. Other panel have the signs randomly intermixed with grids and meandering lines, as you see in this example. This is one example. These we call comminution panels, and they are thought to be a degenerative form of the pure examples, and here is you another example of that. The pure signs correspond very closely with the letter forms of the North Arabian alphabets that preceded the use of Arabic in the Mideast. Here is a table of such signs as used there. And here is another table of North Arabian letters with the signs found in Colorado circled in red. It's going to be a little difficult to pick up, but many of them, as they are circled in red, you will see were actually found in Colorado. There, I think that'll bring it in a little better for you. And how fascinating the research on this project. What will be the outcome? Well, that's why men do research, evaluate. Could this be a happenstance? Well, we're checking. We are still working. But that is quite a number. Now, North Arabian writing was used in Arabia, Syria, Iraq, Jordan, and the Sinaiform a few centuries before Christ to a few centuries after Christ. And it looks like this. Long inscriptions are rare, and most are graffiti, usually associated with simple aspects of daily life. This is an example in this slide. If one did not know better, he would think this sequence of letters comes from Colorado. Examples of the Colorado glyphs have been sent to specialist scholars worldwide for analysis. Note the nice rows of letters here for an example. These excerpts acknowledge the remarkable correspondence of the two groups of letter forms as shown in these two panels of Colorado glyphs, with the signs found in Arabia again circled in red. Here is one. We can take a look at it. And here is another. And again, the red is not showing as much as we would like, but be that as it may, I think you can see that the correspondence is tremendous. Virtually all the signs are similar, but scholars have been unable to read the Colorado glyphs using any of the language or dialects employed with North Arabian script in the Old World. This is where the research stands today, and many more examples, such as this one, must be found before some other explanation can be sought. For example, has there been a language shift or a sound value change, or has the writing so degenerated that it is merely illiterate reproduction of the letters as magical symbols? Well, that you must decide for yourself. A second type of unusual petroglyph is also found in the region, dating to about the same time. It is characterized by long horizontal lines with vertical straight lines hanging from them. Here are two examples. Often the vertical lines have balls at the end, so the glyphs have been nicknamed music as a code word for discussing them. They may be some kind of record or account or calendar, and one we will visit is nearly 70 feet long. Here is a 1920 Kiowa calendar that may represent a much later similar usage. And I must remind you also that in Kamokako, the similar method was used. Now that being the end of that particular segment, now let's go out into the field now and join the exploration for new material, and how precious and how wonderful it is to make a new discovery. We'll visit some of the important sites in southeastern Colorado and even help find some new ones. It is remote country, and high clearance four-wheel drive vehicles are required, along with hiking and climbing ourselves, searching the cliffs looking for these signs. We do not know where the quest for knowledge will lead, but we are privileged to be involved in its progresses, and we thank especially the crew in southeastern Colorado that works so diligently there in this quest. And we believe you'll find it both exciting and illuminating. All right, let's go to the field at this time. All right, here we are again in lovely southeastern Colorado, that is, and we have two hosts that are going to be showing with us today in some of the writing, some of the markings that we'll be discovering here, looking for, searching and seeking. This is going to be basically exploratory. We're going to examine some of the stones in the country here and let you see just a little bit of the rough. You see the Purgatory River right down below us here. I'll introduce you at this time to our host for today. You're all acquainted with Ted Barker, and he's going to be one of our hosts today. Ted, how are you?
Just great, Arnold. It's good to see you again. We enjoyed making the other film with you, and I'm sure we'll enjoy this one again today.
Well, fantastic. It's always a pleasure having you. Want to introduce you to Earl Goodrich. Earl, how are you today?
Fine.
It's good to have you along with us, and it's good to have you as a host here.
Glad to have you back here. I wasn't able to be with you before, but I'm looking forward to today, and I hope we see a lot of things that interest you and a lot of other people. It's interesting to us.
I'm sure we will, and as always, it's remarkable in this great nation. What a view we have. As we're on a bluff. I'm going to say it's 500 feet, maybe even 6 down to the river down below. If you got a little dizzy getting close to the edge, this would not be a good place for you to stand where we're standing here. But what a beautiful sight as we hear God's nature in the background, and even domestic animals, cattle. It's calving time here in eastern Colorado that time of the year, and keeps a lot of folks pretty close up to home. But that's why you hear the calls in the background, if you are able to hear them. We're going to have a real good time today exploring some of the river valleys and outcroppings here in southeastern Colorado.
From above us here, Mike, you can record and see a line of this prehistoric art that has been enhanced. We know what it's enhanced with. It is liquid chalk, and it didn't come off. We didn't do it. Now the rest of this we have at one time or another enhanced and washed it off, and you cannot tell that anything has been done. I neglected one thing on the writing above. There's a Q right in there. We call it a Q that wasn't enhanced, and we dated it to 2,000 years or 200 years before Christ. Now, this figure here is a double figure, but one of them hasn't been bothered, and it dates 2,000 years ago. The beautiful little horse someone should have drawn somewhere else, it would be, maybe 200 or 300 years old. When you get something that near to the present day, it's very, very difficult to date it. Now, we call this the rainbow panel because here is a rainbow, right above it is a rainbow, and back behind the horse are rainbows. We are very near now to sweep this direction to another line with the hanging figures, which possibly is a count of some sort. However, the lower one here is just great. It has letters and figures of some sort hanging from it instead of the straight lines. Another rainbow right there. They're just rainbows, if that's what they are, all over this panel.
Okay, I want to show you something very interesting. You know, there's an amazing thing about this southeastern Colorado. Again, found by Elmer Barker, we have another solstice. In other words, if your head goes right where this dot is, and you see the sunrise mark here, then coming through through a small hole in a rock here, right on the horizon there, you have a solstice or an equinox. Go ahead, Ted.
Now this won't be perfect every year, for the simple fact that the Earth makes a wobble every 200 or 2006 years. So it takes that long to return to a perfect alignment. But before you go on to the rest of it, Mike, you might come back and take a picture of the little hole that the sun comes through. It's so tiny that you just can't hardly believe it. Yeah. And when that actually happens, it's one of the most beautiful things you have ever seen.
Well, thank you, Ted, and that lovely wife of yours for having noted it there. Seems like women just notice things more than men do, don't you think? Ted does pretty good, but boy. Another interesting thing, you see many rakes on this particular face, but there is one thing that is foremost, and I really wish that this panel would show up better in this light, and who knows, perhaps we can help it a little bit. But there's a fascinating thing in this part of the country. We're not going to say they are absolutely North Arabian letters or figures, but quite simply that they look exactly like them, and you can take drawings in Arabia itself, in North Arabia, of some of their old cuttings, and there is a startling resemblance. But here is one of the purest strings here of these North Arabian figures. Maybe we'll be able to show you a slide where these will come out a little better. But this is what you might call pure, because there is, within this string, there is no contamination, no pollution, and the figures are certainly in excellent shape. And I think it's amazing, and I think there needs to be a little more research done as to how we could have these North Arabian symbols in southeastern Colorado. You're going to find that this particular string is found specifically in not that large an area here in southeastern Colorado, and we're going to try with the character generator to highlight and even join some of these into a string that you will be shown as they are individual and then placed into the string as they are found. What does it say and what does it mean? People have a purpose and a reason for everything. And a man that is interested in research, a woman that is interested in research, is not ready to make any claims or anything like that, but the excitement comes
from the research itself, in looking back to our to those people in humanity that traveled here, had something to say, placed it on the stone, and the love that man has for mankind, in understanding the travels of man, certainly we see a prime example. And quite frankly, I think within an 80 or a 90-mile radius here of southeastern Colorado, you find one of the most astounding, purest strings and lines of these characters that you will anywhere in the Americas. We'll be continuing that. We'll have more to say with perhaps a slide later.
Here's a real good example of the difference in the age of this stuff in here on the same area. Here's a typical Indian type work that you see has been abraded rather than pecked, like these older figures. All abraded Indian, they drew like we call stick men rather than peckmen. And it's found all over the country, as well as lots of just tool marks where they were sharpening the other tools to work with. But here's what we call a tool mark right here. It's fairly recent. And here's something looked like a fertility sign made by the Indian method of braiding. But here's something real interesting that don't find too many of, is these three Thunderbirds right here together. And they've patinated quite a bit in there. They're fairly old because they're black underneath. But yeah.
But you know what we've talked about on this bluff is the two horizontal lines that go plumb across this thing and have different sorts of things hanging from it. Usually just straight lines. And we've kind of called this music for a better word, but every once in a while you don't have straight lines anymore. You have something that looks like writing hanging from it, and it just goes on and on.
Dad, did you notice this thing that looks like
yes.
wheels here, and this looks like a sunrise or sunset, and the heavy marks above it? They're right along the same line.
We put the compass on that, Earl, and thought we might have a sunrise solar alignment at the equinox, but there's a cedar tree in our way, and we haven't yet got the landowner's permission to cut that cedar tree. Now, right above it is something that looks like a hangman's rope or something. Quite a picture there.
Yeah.
That we wondered, you know, if that might be a picture of the bluff there.
Might be hanging over the top.
Yeah, we run into this sort of thing.
This writing goes up pretty high.
Yes.
This sits out here as kind of a box around it, some sort of a figure here. That might represent a teepee along the trail, I don't know.
It may not even be the same age. It's a little different looking. Now the next thing that is really important is this horse-like figure with round feet, and on his back is a phi sign. We thought we really had something unique here, but there is one other place that there is one, and another important place that there is one, and that is on a sandstone bluff in northern Arabia. Well, it's a place,
You know, that's a funny thing. See, now there would be a leaf, but
yeah,
when you just see one letter.
Yeah, well, and also this would nullify the way it's made. See, this is pecked, and this, so you have to be real careful.
Yeah, but that's a real old strike there, as far as they go.
Well, maybe all of us pecked to start with, and the cross was a little bit dim, so they...
Whatever they were worshiping here was getting rubbed out a little bit, and then somebody...
There's a peck mark up here, Ted. Did you ever get that one recorded? Yeah.
This small petroglyph panel puts you in mind of being in a chapel. It has several symbols or art forms which could be letters. This could be the symbol for Horus and the morning star. They get everything mixed up, and there has been lots of mixed up things done on this panel. This, which has been scratched out a little deeper, kind of puzzled me the first time I was here. The second time I was here, an astrologer was here, a lady astrologer, and I'll quote her and hope she doesn't throw something at me. She said, "How beautiful. Here is Aries and Pisces and Leo in the order in which they are used in some zodiacs." Now, there are many hands down toward the bottom where Earl's stick is now, are lots of them, small hands pointing upward, again making you think this might have been an altar. Now, before you give up, there are hands right on this face that I would like for you to show.
Going right up to the inside there. It's like they're reaching for something. All of them pointing upward. Here's a real plain one right here. And it's unique. We find hands all over this country, all right, but not to this extent, and all pointing the same direction, like they were worshiping something. We don't know if they're sun worshipers, but here's a long stalk, like a sunflower, and at the head of it is a beautiful head like a sunflower on top of it. Might not have any significance, and again it might. And here's a good example of later time Indian types of tool marks. They were sharpening something or shaping something there. It's easy to tell. Here's a later strike and a later strike, and I saw an example, if I can find it. Here it is. Now somebody originally shaped, there was a stem to something like a sunflower, and some later Indian come along and started that trench of sharpening something. Then later some fellow come along there with something broader to shape it and used the same furrow there, more or less. And you find that a whole lot. It puzzles some people, but if you knew something about how Indians lived, it wouldn't puzzle you.
This panel could not be used for reference because it has been marked over and reamed out by following generations. So it will just have to be called a very beautiful place, and no reference is made to it. Well, we can talk about it, but no proof type references.
Here is engineered and designed for exploring cliffs. Sturdy, safe, strong. We're trying to show you a little more this time some of exploring these places and what the crew goes through to bring it to you. Sure, it's a lot of fun, but there's a lot of work that goes along with it. And that's what you're witnessing here as you see the crew and staff as they are moving, and the logistics of transportation and so forth, and Here we see the ladder erected. I believe that was in about 1 minute flat.
These, my goodness, Ted, there's some on the
They
floor,
are.
too.
Ted, look at that.
Yeah.
We can see them right there. Let's climb up there now and see what we got. What do you say?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Wait just a minute, Ted. I think it's settled about a foot or two.
It's not going to get away.
Take a picture of that.
That's probably the
Starting point.
starting point. And some of them are long, some of them are short.
Let's
There's
see, we-
not an actual,
We better get out of way Earl's way here.
I think that's what I can watch.
Okay. Go ahead. That's excellent. That's the chances are very good then that it is open at that.
it, you know, in the most of them, there's quite a little patina. Some of them have it that are up on the humps there.
Now, my friends, this is the pleasure of exploring, is to make a find like this, where you actually see the beginning of the string mark in Ogham, and certainly it's not molested, but this is a pretty out-of-the-way place that a mark like this would be found. That's fascinating.
This place is very, very different from most of them we have visited in respect that the figures here are painted, and if I'm right, they're called pictographs instead of petroglyphs, which has been the general thing that we have been seeing. Also, this animal is wounded and has a spear that has a end on it that we think is an addle or added weight to the spear. Also, the little man right behind the animal's rump is carrying a similar weapon. In fact, several of these have the weapon back across here. Did I jump too fast? All right. Anyway, this paint, it's questionable just how it was made, but probably a very red ochre mixed with a little bit of tallow and put on there with a very sharp pointed stick in order to make the weapons on here. Categorically in southeastern Colorado, these shouldn't be here. The weather isn't quite such as to preserve them, and this place and one more that we have found is quite similar could have possibly been painted, then the water course, which we're standing in, changed and covered this with dirt for several hundred or maybe even 1,000 years. Then the water course changed back and uncovered them and left them in as good a condition as they are. There are legends among all old civilizations about people with more than 5 digits on their fingers and toes, and ordinarily these people were witches or people with supernatural powers. Now, this one right at my left toe is a foot with 9 toes. I don't know about this. Yeah, here's another one with 6 right behind it. But this has a few older symbols, like the phi symbol, but it was carried down and used by latter people also. Let me step off of this and let Mike get a good shot of all of that. Now, you can hear the horn honk, I suppose, in the background. Our colleagues are getting impatient. Okay, we're back across the canyon from where we were taking pictures of the petroglyphs on the horizontal surface. This little monolith is 4 feet high or a little bit more. We have picked up all the pieces, and by standing all around it and holding them together, all of them on there makes it about 5 or 6 inches taller. There was nothing much on them. Probably lightning struck and bounced around in here and knocked the top of it off, would be a real good guess, because there is a petroglyph panel right behind us that has a piece knocked out of it probably the same way.
Well, notice here, as many times alphabets are put together in a string, whatever the meaning might be, to give a consistency and a flowing thought. I wish we could translate for you the thought. That we cannot. But we must begin somewhere and continue our research in this. I want you to recall in memory the perfect string that you were shown of what are very possibly, could be, no one is sure, North Arabian letters. And I want you to note, here we have a sequence of these same letters in a string on a stem, as you will notice, as they flow on down into a stem, the bottom line, and then the upside down U here. And then we have, as you notice, even many would say, well, here is a stem, and this is Shemak from the Phalo-Hebrew. Well, I think not, because inasmuch as all languages, not all languages, but many of the letters are similar from Old Babylonian to whatever, never have we seen in an area consistent purities, as we do find. What are they? Well, we don't really know. And again, that's what research is for. But we had to bring to you the fact that the pure line that you saw on another location, which we've pointed out to you, we have here in a string. It is not by accident, certainly, that you have that many appearances of the letters and then the string. And when they appear with that frequency, then certainly we know it strengthens the research to look much deeper into this form of letter as it is found in this area in both Puritan form and otherwise. And I think it's a fascinating research, and it pleases me very much that certainly this group is researching in many ways, not only this line, but many lines of these stones with these messages that speak. The stones will speak to you if you'll listen. When you walk, look down. When you walk, look around. The stones, in fact, will tell you of those that were here not so awful long ago, and yet those that were here, ancient people, long ago. Okay, here we have a prime example, and I think I'm going to use this as a plate of instruction here. Let's notice up here in the top we have two letters being joined together to make a string, a double pitchfork with a staff through it, and then here we have probably an older, as you will notice, ancient, as pretty a string as these what appear to be North Arabian letters, as you're going to find, the bits or however you wish to say it. Now, the reason I'm going to use this for instruction, you will note, these are lighter. Therefore, they have been picked more recent. More recent could be anywhere from 300 years to however many years. But notice the ancient line still comes through. Now, what you want to watch for also is that sometimes, such as in this case here, that this has been redone, but you notice in the bottle the age of it is still there. In other words, they repicked it to probably brighten it, thinking they were doing someone a big favor. And you can analyze it, and we'll have the camera move in closer, and you'll be able to see the dark still in the bottom where it was picked, just showing that it was ancient. So it could be bright, and it could still be ancient. I think it is fascinating where we're in a place here where I'm sure there is water near, where many people gathered at the head of a huge canyon, and it could be a classroom type atmosphere, that is to say, teaching children or leaving messages as to the presence of water. Here are some that are more recent, could even be some possibly Indian on this particular plate. I think it's a fascinating one, but again, as pure a string as you could want to have, and yet you still have a conglomeration. I don't like the word conglomeration, but we'll use it anyway, meaning a mixture of many things.
Her grandfather was with Kit Carson in 1840 when he wrote his name here. Now, it is a little brighter than it was done. Her uncle, in later years, took a nail and clarified it, went over the marks. But it is the original marks that Kit Carson wrote his name with in 1840. So we've came from very ancient to fairly modern in this day's trip. Let's kind of look at some of these. It looks like some writing on this one right here by the tree.
Start up, all right. I believe that's a little recent right there.
Yes, sir. Valley Monument. I think an undertaker or a mortuary must have been advertising monuments. Well, I guess it'd make a good
I was
one.
going to say that.
Yeah, that's quite a marker, isn't it?
Bring somebody out here and bury them right by the monument.
Well, the backside of the rock isn't a surface you could ride on, so
There's some good slick rock up yonder.
we may have to go plumb to the top. So let's just kind of, it wouldn't hurt to look at these right along the valley here.
Mosey along here and look at it.
That one looks awful slick all over.
This one's
Not very good surface on
not
it.
very good surface.
Boy, I'll tell you, somebody gave this a good shaking sometime, didn't they?
I know it's been around here and that come rolling down.
I wouldn't too.
Boy, this, you know,
This may be natural, but come and look at this. Maybe they're natural, but then it's something worth looking at. You're better at that than I am.
No, someone's done that one, Earl. I believe.
I believe we
Now,
got
here-
to,
Now these down here look more natural when you get looking
Yeah.
at them.
I believe those are, and possibly those.
well, now look at
That's really odd that there's angles to each other. They're
But,
doing-
yeah, I was gonna
this
say.
one right over here. It's just loaded with that one too. Or I believe that one back there is the one.
Back this way.
That's natural, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm
Or
sure
is
it
it?
all is. It's fantastic. A few marks at angles to each other.
There's something funny. Now this is something odd about this particular kind of rock. Now these have got these funny lines that don't all run the same way like the grain of the rock, and yet they look kind of like they were natural too. I don't know what to make of that.
Boy, I'll tell you that.
I don't know what to make
Well,
of it.
they surely are not.
There's too many of them now to
Yeah.
be made per person, I believe.
Yeah. You know,
Oh,
when
they-
something comes
They can
rolling-
sure, they can sure fool you.
That is, let's say, needless to say, suspicious looking, isn't it?
Uh,
That's
sometimes rocks, as they tumble down, grate again other rocks, and
Right, and it can cause.
here's. I believe them are natural, but they sure make you take a second look.
They sure do.
yeah.
Well, that's what it's all about, isn't it, man? Until you investigate, you can never tell. Look at that one, yep, right there.
There's something about this particular area of rock that's got something about that makes those lines. Is it
Now, there-
cures or ages or weathers or?
too many of those kind of lines, even though they look real good, I don't
Yeah,
believe.
say like that stem there is a crack or where it's hit.
Yeah.
Too many of them.
Find one?
I may have.
Okay. Oh,
I believe there's a fire sign right here. Sure looks like it might be.
come back down to it.
I sure do. Good eye, Earl. Take
Good eye. Here we got a horseshoe here.
Yeah. I'm going to look up here where that thing points towards.
Uh-huh. And let me get my light here. I think there's another one here that one looks like it might have been rubbed over with something to make it show up better.
It's pecked, isn't it?
Yeah. Back to the later day.
Well, that's odd to be pecked at a later date. You see them sometimes it's been pecked and rubbed later.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
they both, those
you go.
over at the corral yesterday. I'm going to pass on that one. It could be either way.
Ted, look here.
We got a good one going here.
That thing's pointing right here, and this thing is full of it.
Okay.
Right on top. It has
Right on top. That's what
pointing
they
just
told me.
exactly towards this.
That's the rock.
Right here it is.
They'll
The
tell
thing
you
is full
where
of
to
it.
go if you listen to
Right on top of it. So
some good stuff
that rock was talking all right.
Uh-huh.
Just look on top of it.
All right, let's see.
I found that one.
I don't think we even need the light to.
I don't think so. Look at this long.
Oh,
Link.
boy.
Yeah, two of our large O's
That's natural, I believe. Those
and,
are
and our figure eight. This is in our language, not in theirs. But it's the same thing as the old world had and what we have here.
another long old.
Yeah, here's a long O with a line across it, which is one of the letters. Great.
Good find.
There's another little work in there that I don't quite understand.
It's just plain how that run right in there. There's a natural line here that I can't tell feeling of it. It's how that was run. That was
Well, I'll bet you we've got more
if that was enhanced,
right along this place.
I would say so.
That'd be a pretty little bunch there if we get in time. Let's see at this back line here, Ted. Right around this edge here. Going back here.
Yeah,
So
yeah, this is another one of our
and
egg-shaped
it's got a little one right on the side of it.
Okay. We have that on Riddle Creek, over by Harry Kinsley's place.
Wow. I don't know why somebody worked laying that old fence up sometime.
Sure did. You know, I guess it would be hard for some people to realize what it's like to get caught back here.
We got caught right in north of here. That part of where we were yesterday, but just another way to get in and out. And boy, it was a rascal to get out.
Look here at the toddy marks, two good ones.
Yeah, yeah.
There's an older one right there, it's about weathered out.
Right on top of this mesa.
Well, this is the good place for them because as they prepared their food, they were up on the mesa where they could be lookouts as well as food preparers.
Ted, look at there. Look, it's all over there.
Yeah, that's right here,
Right here,
right
look
here,
at that,
jumping at us. Incidentally, for jumping at us, we kind of want to watch for these buzztails.
Look at these matati holes here.
Buzztail is a better word for rattlesnake.
Yeah,
It's
here's
real old
what
right there. It's about all weathered away.
almost a maze on this one.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful things here, around the corner of the rock.
There's another large.
A big mark,
yeah.
a question mark like.
In a circle. This is like a Q, only it has an extra line to it.
Well,
Over here, too.
Yeah, that's
All
what
the
I've
way-
been trying to get.
All the way around there.
Yeah, we want a camera right up here.
Big circle with like a lot of bars to it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I believe there's 10 of these legs that come off it, like a great big terrapin with a lot of legs.
Probably, Earl, that's a sun of some sort because
Well,
they
that's
use the
based on-
star grids
Toward the sun.
for the sun and then put the rays on
Look
it.
at this big circle here with a bar through it and almost like it's made in an H.
Mhm.
Now this rock, Ted, has slid down over some of that work. This
Yeah,
rock
probably
has.
some of it covered up with this rock.
Somebody slid right down over this.
and you know,
You wonder how in the world that thing got there.
that is strange. And you know, sometimes they'll use this because you're near water as a basket weaver too. You know, where they wove that center and they
Yeah,
it's not
right.
finished. See,
Yeah.
but now I guess that's what we research for, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Sure is.
Some places you'll
Sometimes
find.
you feel that there's a coming together of the different cultures on this.
Right.
Other times it's completely different.
Some parts of the country, you'll see something like that in the middle of the shield, but then there's always a circle around the outer edge if it's a shield. That means something different. I don't know.
Because of the
Look
corn.
here at this one.
Well,
Circle here with 2 legs on it, and one here.
boy, this was a nest egg of them, wasn't it?
Sure was. And there's one right behind Mike that got map-like indicators on it. And also the could be a medicine wheel sort of.
Look on that one, Earl. There is a medicine wheel, see it?
Well, that's the first one I saw from up there. I was looking over the top of these.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of peck stuff around here on this side. Solid peck. There's some right here on this one behind me.
Well, there sure
Yeah,
is.
way down there, rolled off from here.
Some of this must have broke up, don't you reckon?
Well, I started to say this broke off and come around here and the great long line down this side here. What in the world could that crazy
I'm gonna have to come
thing
down
be
and look at that.
like? Or something.
Does it point back toward that first one that we found?
Yeah, it's right in line with those we found.
I'll bet you this indicates it's the end of it.
It probably does. So see, it hooks off off back to that ridge right up there.
Yeah.
But now that definitely is pecked.
Uh-huh. I'll bet you that indicates that this is the end
This
of it.
is the end of it. Their camp had to be back there where they ground their corn.
Uh-huh.
And see right here, we got some pecked stuff, but it looks suspicious to me. What do you make of that right there?
Yeah, that's definitely different than what we've got. And although
That's-
it looks like patterns, probably that was caused by water droplets hanging on there and then freezing
That's
and
it.
make it pop out.
That's what it's got to be. It's pretty rough there. So we're probably at the end of it right here, aren't we? And again, we want to thank the group, this crew here in southeastern Colorado, as the research continues. Now, this isn't the end. This is not the closing. But this is the beginning, for there will be many numbers in the series that follows. For it's obvious that the work, the research, has only begun. How fascinating to find letters in an area, or seemingly that they are of a particular area, to find them here, all the way from the northern Arabic, that particular continent, that here we would find them in southeastern Colorado, or at least a likeness there too. No, the work isn't over, and this isn't the end. It's simply the end of this first installment on the search and the research as we continue into this study on these particular characters, or whatever you would like to call them. And what do you think, crew? Can we do another one here soon? Are you all for it? All right, let's hear it. They're ready. So, again, not the end, but the beginning of a series. We hope you've enjoyed it.